You know that feeling? When food is the thing that's always there, from the moment you wake up to the moment you finally fall asleep. It's there at 9 in the morning when you ate breakfast an hour ago. It's there at 11 when you're already opening the snack drawer. It's there at 3 in the afternoon when you should be working, but you're thinking about what's in the kitchen. It's there when you get home from work, exhausted, walking straight to the fridge before you've even taken your shoes off. And it's there at night, after dinner, when nothing tastes good enough to make the wanting stop. It's not hunger. Hunger has a beginning and an end. This thing never ends. And it isn't a fast metabolism. It isn't bad genetics. It isn't a lack of self-control. What's actually happening is one of the most predictable patterns in modern nutrition, and almost no one understands what's really driving it. In a moment, I'll show you why a foundational study from the University of Sydney found that two foods with the exact same number of calories can leave you full for 6 hours, or hungry again in 90 minutes. Why research published in Advances in Nutrition proved that your body produces its own natural version of Ozempic when you eat the right way, and almost nobody does. And why most of what you call hunger throughout the day isn't actually hunger at all, but 3 completely different signals that nobody ever taught you to tell apart. By the end of this video, you'll understand more about why you feel hungry all the time than 90% of nutritionists and doctors do. Quick question before we dive in. When does your hunger feel the most relentless during the day? Mid-morning? Mid-afternoon? After meals? All day, every day? Tell me in the comments. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not just someone with a big appetite. You're running biology that has been quietly working against you for years. And once you see why, the entire pattern stops. The first force is the most important, the one that explains almost everything. The meal you just ate didn't actually satisfy you. Most people assume that if they eat enough calories, they should feel full. That's not how hunger works. Your body doesn't have a calorie counter. It has hormones, and those hormones respond to specific things in the food, not to the total energy on the plate. The 2 most important things, by far, are protein and fiber. When you eat a meal that contains enough of both, your gut releases a hormone called GLP-1. The same GLP-1 that medications like Ozempic and Wegovy are designed to mimic. Your body makes its own version, naturally, every time you eat a properly built meal. GLP-1 is one of the strongest satiety signals in human biology. It slows down stomach emptying. It tells your brain, stop, you have what you need, and it keeps you full for hours. But here's the problem. GLP-1 is only released in meaningful amounts when there's enough protein and fiber in the meal. A 2021 review published in the journal Advances in Nutrition by Dr. Jonathan Watkins and colleagues at the University of Bath summarized decades of research showing that protein, in particular, is the most powerful trigger for GLP-1 release. Carbohydrate alone barely moves it. Fat alone barely moves it. Protein and fiber together produce the strongest, longest-lasting satiety signal your body can make. Now look at how most people actually eat. A sandwich with very little real protein, a bowl of pasta with sauce, cereal with milk, a salad with no protein on it, snacks made of refined carbohydrates. None of these meals trigger GLP-1 properly. They give you calories, but they don't give you the signal that says, stop. And it gets worse. Without enough protein and fiber, the carbohydrates in the meal hit your bloodstream fast. Your blood sugar spikes. Insulin rushes in to bring it down. Within about 90 minutes, your glucose has crashed below where it started. Your body interprets that crash as hunger, even though you have plenty of energy stored everywhere in your body. So the picture is this. You ate. The meal had too little protein, too little fiber. GLP-1 didn't rise enough. Your glucose spiked and crashed. And 90 minutes later, your body is screaming for food again. Not because it needs energy, but because the chemical conversation that's supposed to say, stop eating, never happened. Quick pause here. If this is the first time you've heard hunger explained this way, do 2 things real quick. Hit the like button. It's the only signal YouTube uses to show this video to other people who need to hear it. And subscribe to the channel, because this is part of an ongoing series breaking down the psychology and biology behind the eating patterns nobody else explains clearly. You don't want to miss the next ones. Now let's keep going. The second force is more behavioral than biological. Most of what feels like hunger isn't hunger at all. It's a learned habit. Dr. Wendy Wood, a behavioral scientist at the University of Southern California, spent decades studying habits. Her research, summarized in her book Good Habits, Bad Habits, shows that around 43% of everything you do in a day is habit, not conscious decision. The behavior fires automatically based on time, location, and context. And food is one of the most heavily habit-driven behaviors humans have. The cookie with afternoon coffee, the dessert after dinner, the snack while watching a show. None of these are responses to hunger. They are programs your brain has rehearsed thousands of times, triggered by context, not by your stomach. Most people who think they have a sweet tooth or constant hunger don't actually have either. They have a heavy network of conditioned food responses that fire automatically throughout the day. And here's why this matters. When a habit fires at the same moment that your last meal didn't satisfy you properly, you experience it as overwhelming hunger. Two separate systems collide. The biological one created by the bad meal and the behavioral one created by years of training. Together, they feel like one huge, undeniable signal. But they are two completely different things, with two completely different solutions. The third force is the one that ties everything together. There are three different signals all calling themselves hunger, and almost nobody can tell them apart. Signal 1 is real biological hunger. It comes on gradually. Empty stomach, low energy, slight irritability. Builds slowly over hours. This is genuine and you should respond to it. Signal 2 is hedonic craving. Sudden, specific. You don't want food. You want chocolate or chips. It disappears if you distract yourself for 15 minutes. This isn't hunger. It's your dopamine system seeking a reward. Signal 3 is conditioned hunger. Appears at specific times or contexts. Right after dinner, at 3 p.m., on the couch in the evening. It feels real, but it isn't tied to your body's actual need. It's tied to repetition. Most people who say they're hungry all the time are experiencing signals 2 and 3, layered on top of signal 1, being amplified by poorly built meals. Three different systems firing at once, all interpreted as one giant problem called, I'm always hungry. So, here's what to actually do. First, rebuild your main meals around protein and fiber. Aim for at least 30 grams of protein at breakfast and lunch, and a serving of fiber from vegetables, fruit, beans, or whole grains. This single change does more for hunger than any other strategy. Second, stop eating refined carbohydrates alone. A piece of bread by itself, a pasta dish with no protein, a bowl of cereal. These will guarantee hunger 90 minutes later. Always pair them with protein and fiber to flatten the glucose curve. Third, identify your food habits and disrupt the triggers. If you always have something with your coffee, drink your coffee somewhere else for a week. If you always snack on the couch, sit somewhere else. Habits live in environments. Change the environment and the habit weakens. Fourth, before you eat between meals, ask yourself one question. Is this real hunger, a craving, or a habit? The honest answer almost always reveals itself within 5 seconds. You don't have to act on every signal. You just have to know which one you're actually responding to. You're not fighting your appetite. You're rebuilding the signals that have been miscommunicating with your brain for years. The people who stop feeling hungry all the time aren't the ones with more willpower. They're the ones who finally understood that they weren't really hungry, they were just running biology that nobody ever taught them to fix. Tell me in the comments, which signal do you recognize most in your own life? The meal that didn't satisfy you, the habit firing at the same time every day, or the craving that has nothing to do with real hunger? I read every single comment. See you in the next one.